114. Chapter 6. Special Practices in Agriculture. Learning Objectives. After reading this chapter, students will be able to know innovative approaches being adopted in agriculture, understand the transgenic crops and safety issues related to it, explain principles involved in organic and natural farming and its advantages, understand the importance of mushrooms and backyard poultry high-yielding varieties, HYVs. High-yielding varieties, HYVs, are genetically improved cultivars of crops having increased growth rate, increased percentage of usable plant parts or an increased resistance against biotic and abiotic stresses. Such HYVs have been developed in crop plants using science of genetics, and plant breeding and their yield potential has been optimized using better agronomical practices. Because of high yield potential of HYVs, the yield of wheat and rice increased significantly in many countries including India during the 1970s. Such HYVs, therefore, formed the basis for the Green Revolution. The term Green Revolution was used in 1968 by Vigyan to describe significant increase in wheat and rice production and productivity due to deployment of HYVs. In fact, the Green Revolution refers to a series of research and development and technology transfer initiatives occurring between the 1940s and the late 1960s, which increased agricultural production worldwide, particularly in the developing world, beginning most markedly in the late 1960s. The initiatives, led by Nobel laureate Norman Borlaug, the father of the Green Revolution, credited with saving over 1 billion people from starvation, involved the development of high-yielding varieties of cereal grains, expansion of irrigation infrastructure, modernization of management techniques, distribution of hybridized seeds, synthetic fertilizer, and pesticide to farmers. In general, HYVs require a higher level of agricultural care, such as intensive disease control, higher fertilizer levels, and ensured water supply. While HYVs of different crops have enabled many-fold increase in agricultural production, their increased demands of fertilizer, pesticide, and water control have drawn criticism from environmentalists. India became one of the world's most successful wheat and rice producers after the deployment of dwarf HYVs, and has become an exporter of rice and wheat from net importer country. Introductory Agriculture. 115. Dwarf high-yielding varieties of wheat. Dwarf high-yielding varieties of rice. High-yielding varieties of different crops. S. Number. Crop. HYVs. 1. Wheat. Key features. Key features of HYVs are high yield. The improved varieties of crops have potential of higher production and productivity per unit of land and input. The main explanation of the difference in yield between high-yielding and traditional varieties is the increased rate in which primary plant products is redirected to harvestable products, such as grains. B. Dwarfness. The HYVs of wheat and rice are dwarf or semi-dwarf in terms of plant height. Due to short height, stem of HYVs remains to be stronger and can withstand strong winds. Thus, the problem of lodging in traditional tall varieties of wheat and rice associated with application of nitrogenous fertilizer and good management is minimized with the deployment of dwarf HYVs, as these varieties respond to higher management practices with much higher yield without lodging. C. Better responsiveness to fertilizer. The HYVs are better responsive to fertilizer. This means that when fertilizer are supplied to HYVs, their yield increases substantially. However, when high fertilizer are applied in traditional varieties of wheat and rice grown prior to Green Revolution, they grow taller and lodged without any additional yield advantage. D. Earliness. The HYVs are also early in maturity when compared with traditional varieties. Because of early maturity, more number of crops can be accommodated on the same piece of land in time. This will further increase in better and efficient utilization of land resources, and farmers can earn more income from same piece of land. Organic agriculture. Organic agriculture is a production system that sustains the health of soils, ecosystems, and people. It relies on ecological processes, biodiversity, and cycles adapted to local conditions, rather than the use of inputs with adverse effects. Organic agriculture combines tradition, innovation, and science to benefit the shared environment and promote fair relationships and a good quality of life for all involved. Introductory Agriculture. 117. Organic agriculture concept in India is not new, rather it is practiced since long back. This farming method primarily aimed at cultivating the land and raising crops in such a way that the soil remains alive and in good health by use of crop residues, animal and farm wastes, aquatic wastes, organic wastes, and other biological materials along with beneficial microbes. Such organic and biological materials will ensure the nutritional requirements of crops, sustain crop productivity, and maintain soil health in an eco-friendly, pollution-free environment. Vegetable produced through organic farming. Principles of organic agriculture. Principle of health. Organic agriculture sustains and enhances the health of soil, plant, animal, human, and planet as one and indivisible. Principle of ecology. Organic agriculture is based on living ecological systems and cycles. It works with, emulates, and helps sustain them. Principle of fairness. Organic agriculture builds on relationships that ensure fairness with regard to the common environment and life opportunities. Principle of care. Organic agriculture is managed in a precautionary and responsible manner to protect the health and well-being of current and future generations and the environment. Components of organic farming. Crop rotation. It is a systematic arrangement of growing different crops in a more or less regular sequence on the same land covering a period of 2 years or more. Through crop rotations, soil fertility, weeds, insects, and diseases are managed without any chemical inputs. Crop residue. In India, there is a great potential for utilization of crop residues, straw of some of the major cereals and pulses. About 50% of the crop residues are utilized as animal feed. The rest could be very well utilized for recycling of nutrients with the help of efficient microbial inoculants. Organic manure. The organic manure is derived from biological sources like plant, animal, and human residues. Organic manure act in many ways in augmenting crop growth and soil productivity. A. Bulky organic manure. It generally contains less amounts of plant nutrients as compared to concentrated organic manure. It includes farmyard manure, FYM, compost, and green manure. 118. FYM. It refers to the well-decomposed mixture of dung, urine, farm litter, and leftover or used up materials from roughages or fodder fed to the cattle. Compost. Large quantities of waste material are available as vegetable refuse, farm litter, such as weeds, stubble, straw, sugarcane trash, sewage sludge, and animal waste in houses and in areas like human and industrial refuse. Therefore, excreta can be converted into useful compost manure by conserving and subjecting these to a controlled process of anaerobic decomposition. Compost is used in the same way as FYM and is good for application to all soils and all crops. Green manuring. It is a practice of plowing or turning into the soil undecomposed green plant tissues for the purpose of improving physical structure as well as fertility of the soil. The most commonly used green manuring crops are sunhemp, Crotalaria juncer, Dhincha, Sesbania aculeata, Clisterbean, Cymopsis tetragonolaba, Senji, Melilotus parviflora, Cowpea, Vigna catjang, Vigna sinensis, Berseem, Trifolium alexandrium. B. Concentrated organic manure. Concentrated organic manures are those materials that are organic in nature and contain higher percentage of essential plant nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potash as compared to bulky organic manures. These concentrated manures are made from raw materials of animal or plant origin. The concentrated organic manures commonly used are oil cakes, blood meal, fish meal, meat meal and horn and hoof meal. Waste is organic manures. Industrial waste. Among the industrial byproducts, spent wash from fertilizers and molasses and press mud from sugar industry have good manurial value. Addition of decomposed press mud improves the soil fertility and enhances the activity of microbes. Coir waste is the byproduct from coir industry and can be used as manure after proper decomposition. Municipal and sewage waste. It also forms an important component of organic waste. Sewage sludge particularly from industrialized cities is contaminated with heavy metals and these pose hazards to plants, animals and human beings. Thus, toxic waste should be separated at the source to minimize the concentration of such elements in the sludge. Biofertilizers. Biofertilizer is microorganisms culture capable of fixing atmospheric nitrogen when suitable crops are inoculated with them. The main inputs are microorganisms, which are capable of mobilizing nutritive elements from non-usable form to usable form through biological introductory agriculture. 119. Process. These are less expensive, eco-friendly and sustainable. The biofertilizers containing biological nitrogen-fixing organism are more important in agriculture. Biofertilizer may be of two types. Symbiotic N-fixation where rhizobium culture of various strains is used. Rhizobium culture multiplies in the roots of legume crops and fixes nitrogen symbiotically. Asymbiotic N-fixation with help of azotobacter, Azospirillum, blue-green algae, Azolla and mycorrhizae. They grow on decomposing soil organic matter and produce nitrogen compounds. Biopesticide. Biopesticide are natural plant products that belong to the so-called secondary metabolites, which include thousands of alkaloids, terpenoids, phenolics and minor secondary chemicals and are effective against many insects, nematodes, fungi etc. Neem, Azadirachta indica, is one of the botanical pesticide used widely. In fact, all parts of the neem tree possess insecticidal property but seed kernel is most active. Some other commonly used botanical insecticides are nicotine, pyrethrum, rotennin, subabilla, rhiannon, quassia, margosa, acorus, etc. Vermicompost. As the name indicates, vermicompost organic manure is produced by the activity of earthworms. Vermicomposting is a method of making compost with the use of earthworms that generally live in soil, eat biomass and excrete it in digested form. These are rich in macro and micronutrients, vitamins, growth hormones and immobilized microflora. Weed management. In organic farming, weeds are managed by promoting crop competition and phytotoxic effects on weeds. Organic farmers integrate cultural, biological, mechanical, physical and chemical tactics to manage weeds without synthetic herbicides. Mechanical and physical weed control practices used on organic farms can be broadly grouped as tillage, turning the soil between crops to incorporate crop residues and soil amendments, remove existing weed growth and prepare a seedbed for planting. Turning soil after seeding to kill weeds, including cultivation of row crops. Mowing and cutting, removing top growth of weeds. Flame weeding and thermal weeding, using heat to kill weeds. Mulching, blocking weed emergence with organic materials, plastic films, or landscape fabric. 120. Livestock. Raising livestock and poultry, for meat, dairy and eggs with natural living conditions and feed is another traditional farming activity that complements organic agriculture. Genetically modified crops. Organic agriculture does not allow any genetically modified GM organisms in farming system. Benefits of organic farming. It helps in maintaining environment health by reducing the level of pollution. It reduces human and animal health hazards by reducing the level of undesirable and toxic residues in the product. It helps in keeping agricultural production at a higher level and makes it sustainable. It reduces the cost of agricultural production and also improves the soil health. It ensures optimum utilization of natural resources for short-term benefit and helps in conserving them for future generation. It not only saves energy for both animal and machine, but also reduces risk of crop failure. It improves the soil physical properties such as granulation, and good tilth, good aeration, easy root penetration and improves water holding capacity. It improves the soil's chemical properties such as supply and retention of soil nutrients, and promotes favorable chemical reactions. Natural farming. Natural farming is an ecological farming approach established by Masanobu Fukuoka, 1913-2008, a Japanese farmer and philosopher, introduced in his book, The One-Straw Revolution, in 1975. It is also referred to as the Fukuoka method, the natural way of farming, or do-nothing farming. Natural farming is related to fertility farming, organic farming, sustainable agriculture, agroforestry, ecoagriculture and permaculture but should be distinguished from biodynamic agriculture. The most essential aspect of natural farming is to let nature play a dominant role to the maximum extent possible. Hence, no-till, farm biodiversity, integration and symbiotic farm components and protection of soil cover all have a place in this method of farming. The immense importance placed on no-tillage has led to natural farming also being referred to as no-till farming. The term, do-nothing farming, originated because the farmer is considered only to be a facilitator, the real work is done by nature herself. In natural farming, actual physical work and labor is reduced drastically in comparison to other agricultural systems. Introductory Agriculture. 121. In India, natural farming is often referred to as Rishi Kheti, which includes ancient Vedic principles of farming based on the use of animal waste and herbs for controlling pests and cow products like buttermilk, milk, cure and its waste urine for preparing growth promoters. The Rishi or Vedic farming is regarded as non-violent farming without any usage of chemical fertilizer and pesticide. Principally, natural farming minimizes human labor and intervention and adopts, as closely as practical, nature's production of foods. Natural farming. Genetically modified crops. Genetically modified, GM, or biotech crops are improved cultivars developed using biotechnological procedures and defined as plants whose genetic material has been artificially modified by addition or deletion of gene in laboratory using genetic engineering, recombinant DNA technology. Power of genetic engineering, recombinant DNA technology has facilitated the transfer of genes from taxonomically different organisms such as plant, animal, bacterial and viral genes or even genes synthesized in laboratory. This kind of genetic modification or gene transfer is not possible in nature or through traditional crossbreeding methods. The gene used for modifying plant genome for development of GM crops is called transgene, if the gene is taken from the organism which is not crossable to target plant species. The crystal protein, CRY, genes isolated from Bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis and transferred into many plant species including cotton and maize is an excellent example of transgene. Crop plants modified with such gene are called transgenic crop or genetically modified or biotech crops. The other possibility of GM crops is the modification of plant genome in the laboratory using gene from same or from a crossable species. Such gene is called cisgene and the plant genome modified using cisgene is referred as cisgenic crop. In India, Bt cotton namely MECH12, MECH162 and MECH184 were released for cultivation in 2002. The Bt GM cotton hybrids were consisted of a gene Cry1AC isolated from Bacterium, Bacillus thuringiensis. Other GM crops include gene for herbicide tolerance, disease resistance, male sterility and fertility, quality improvement transferred in many crops. 122. The methods used successfully in development of GM crops are biological or vector-mediated using Agrobacterium tumefaciens, and physical or non-vector-mediated using gene gun. Need of GM crops. Creating plants better resistant to weeds, pest and other diseases, herbicide, diseases and insect pest tolerance. High yields to create more efficient use of land, less uses of herbicides and other pesticide, herbicide and insect tolerance. Foods with better texture, flavor and nutritional value, AMA1 gene-based GM crop, Amflora potato variety. Foods with a longer shelf life for easier shipping, Flava Saviatium tomato. GM foods can create an essential sustainable way to feed the world. Unusing male sterility and fertility restoration system for hybrid seed production, Barney's and bastard gene from Bacterium. Fulfilling the requirements of desirable gene S, not present in the species, crystal protein, Cry, genes from Bacterium to plants. Introduction of novel traits X, golden rice, Bt cotton. Safety issues in GM crops. Developments of GM crops are growing at rapid rate using gene from diverse sources including gene from bacterium, viruses and other microbes etc. and the fate of protein, enzyme in the host system is not known. Thus, it becomes necessary to ensure safety of human being and other living organisms, environment and natural resources with the cultivation and consumption of GM crops. A set of procedures and guidelines collectively called biosafety regulations are used to ensure safety about GM crops. India has a well-defined regulatory mechanism for development and evaluation of genetically modified organism, GMO, and the products thereof. The Department of Biotechnology, DBT, and the Ministry of Environment and Forests, MOF, are the two apex regulatory bodies regulating the research, development and commercialization of GM crops in India. Protected cultivation. Protected cultivation can be defined as a cropping technique wherein the microclimate surrounding the plant body is controlled partially or fully to maintain optimum conditions for better growth and development of crops. Under protected cultivation, crops are grown inside a frame structure that will protect the crop from environmental extremes, excess rainfall, wind, insects, pests on one hand, and on the other it create environmental conditions that is more conducive for plant growth and development. The crop yield under protected introductory agriculture. 123. Cultivation is much higher than the crop yield when grown under open environmental conditions. Moreover, quality of the product under protected cultivation is also better. With the advancement of agriculture, various types of protected cultivation practices suitable for a specific agroclimatic zone have been developed to maximize production. Greenhouse, plastic house, net house, shade house, trench tunnels etc. are common forms of protected structure used in India. Commercial glass greenhouses are often having high-tech production facilities for vegetables or flowers and for nursery raising. The glass greenhouses are filled with equipments which automatically maintain optimum temperatures, humidity and light required for proper growth and development of crops. In hilly areas in general and higher hills in particular, climatic conditions, especially temperatures during winter season, remains extremely adverse for crop cultivation. In such areas, protected structure can be used effectively for successful cultivation of high-value, low-volume crops such as vegetables, flowers etc. Thus, crop cultivation under protected environment can ensure availability of fresh vegetables locally for highlanders as well armed forces posted in such far-flung hilly tracts at least during the winter season when cultivation of crops under open field are difficult. Cultivation of vegetable under protected environment. Advantages of protected cultivation. Cultivation of crops under controlled conditions has many advantages. These advantages may be in terms of higher productivity per unit of land, water and other resources or in terms of better control over diseases and pests with reduced application of chemicals or ensuring cultivation during the vegetables and flowering plants, raising early nursery of horticultural crops, ensures availability of fresh perishables during winter in hilly areas, off-season cultivation of crops, hardening of plants derived from tissue culture etc. 124. Nursery raising. Hardening of plants. Better control of pests. Better control of diseases. Reduces pesticide use, better use of resources. Off-season cultivation. Higher productivity. Better quality. Advantages of protected cultivation. Mushroom production. Mushrooms are largely predictive structure edible fungi, a group of organisms separate from plant and animals. They can be seen growing on tree stumps, soil etc., especially during the rainy seasons, but plenty of dead organic matter is available. The vegetative part of mushroom mainly consists of thread-like structures, mycelium. They absorb their nutrition with the help of mycelium as penetrate into the substrate and generally not visible above the ground. After the mycelium has grown and absorbed sufficient food materials, it forms reproductive structures which generally come out of the ground or from rotting materials forms fruit bodies, sporocarps, which we commonly refer to as mushroom. In some kind of mushrooms, fruiting bodies are formed underground, e.g. tuber sp. Mushroom vary in size, shape and color. Some mushrooms are deadly poisonous, e.g. Amanita muscaria. It needs a lot of experience and knowledge to differentiate between poisonous and edible wild mushroom. They are used for various purposes, e.g. as food, medicine, intoxicants, dye etc. More than 2,000 species of fungi are edible throughout the world. About 280 are reported from India. Large number of naturally occurring edible fungi are eaten by tribal and hill people after collection from wild habitats. 20 edible species are cultivated in the world, out of which 6 to 7 species are produced in sufficient quantity. Introductory agriculture. 125. View of button mushroom cultivation. Cultivated mushrooms are safe for consumption. They are considered as delicacy. Mushrooms are rich in protein, vitamins and minerals while low in carbohydrate and fat content, which makes them suitable for diabetic and heart patient. Some mushrooms can be easily grown for food and profit. The country at present has almost the lowest per capita consumption of protein amongst the developed countries. Mushroom production is useful for production of protein-rich food obtained from agricultural, industrial wastes which are available in sufficient quantity. Besides, it grows independent of sunlight, feed on organic matter and does not require fertile soil. In addition to flow, airspace is also utilized, resulting in higher productivity per unit area. Mushroom cultivation is an important segment of integrated farming system. It is a profitable agro business particularly for small and marginal farmers, landless laborers, unemployed youth and entrepreneurs. Mushroom cultivation involves simple and easy to adopt technology. Agricultural waste or byproducts of agriculture, industry like paddy straw, wheat straw, sugarcane bagasse, hull maize crops, cotton waste etc. can be used as substrate. A number of marginal, small and industrial mushroom farm units have been established in the countries. Marginal farmers are seasonal growers and grow 1 to 3 crops in temporary huts. Whereas industrial growers grow mushrooms under controlled conditions round the year. In India mainly Agaricus bisporus, white button or European or temperate mushrooms, Pleurotys sp. Oyster or dingri mushroom, Volvariella sp. Chinese or tropical or paddy straw mushroom, and Lentinus edodes, shiitake mushroom are commercial cultivated. They 126. Grow in a variety of climatic condition and on various types of substrates. Details are given in table. Table. Growth conditions of major mushrooms grown in India. Name of mushroom. Scientific name: crop duration, days. Temperature, 0C. Humidity, percent. Substrate. Biostrates efficiency, percent. Spawn running. Cropping. Paddy straw, mushroom straw. Volvariella volvacia, Volvariella diplegia. 24. 24. 30 to 36. 80 to 90. Paddy. 10. Oyster mushroom Pleuratus citrinopolitus, white. 35 to 40. 20 to 30. 20 to 30. 75 to 90. Paddy, wheat straw 40 to 100. Pleuratus sayokaju, grey. 40 to 45. 20 to 30. 20 to 30. 75 to 90. Paddy, wheat straw 40 to 100. European mushroom or button mushroom. Agaricus bisporus 90. 21 to 23. 14 to 15. 85 to 95. Paddy, wheat straw compost 30. Backyard poultry. Backyard poultry in India is characterized by maintaining small flock size consisting of 5 to 10 predominantly local, nondescript, desi birds under free range, extensive system in the backyard by landless poor, small and marginal farmers in the rural areas under zero input conditions. These birds are very popular due to their adaptability to local agroclimatic conditions and management practices with prominent brooding behavior and mothering ability. But these birds are small in size, poor in egg production, 50 to 60 eggs annum, with small clutch size, thus making them not suitable for commercial exploitation in backyard production system. Most of the indigenous chicken breeds like Kadaknat and Nicobari fowls are common in tribal areas of their origin. Among native breeds, a sale has special place in Indian culture as these birds are specially bred for cockfighting. They have heavy body size, long shanks, endurance and aggressive behavior. In spite of the fact that backyard poultry is the most neglected one, still contributing nearly 30% to the national egg pool and their eggs and meat fetching a much higher price than that from commercial poultry. The commercial poultry sector is doing business through integrated approach of contract farming using high input and high output birds. For the poorest of the poor and the landless, the major issues of food security and risk spreading through subsidiary income, which are not addressed by the private commercial sector. Backyard poultry requiring hardly any infrastructure setup is a potent tool for upliftment of the poorest of the poor. Besides income generation, backyard poultry provides nutritional and livelihood security in the form of valuable animal protein and supplementary income. Thus there is a need to take up specific rural poultry production programs to meet the requirements of the rural consumers will introductory agriculture. 127. Constituting a source of subsistence income as a subsidiary occupation by taking up collared bird units ranging from 20 to 50 birds per family in their backyards. Such units require very little hand feeding and can give a fairly handsome return with bare minimum night shelters. Improved breeds for backyard poultry. Giriraja, Vanaraja, Gramapriya, Krishna J, Kari, Nirbheek, Kari Shama, UPCARI, Hitkari, Kadaknat, Frizzle, RAJASRI. Advantages of backyard poultry. Alleviates protein malnutrition in vulnerable groups viz. Expectant women, feeding mothers and children. Controls pests by utilizing wastes like insects, ants, fallen grains, green grass, herbs, shrubs, kitchen waste, vegetable waste etc. and convert them into egg and chicken meat for human consumption. Minimizes environmental pollution per unit poultry produce, which is otherwise a major problem with the intensive poultry farming. Provides additional income to the rural households, women. Integrates well with other farming operations. Aids in enhancing the soil fertility in backyards. 15 chickens produce 1 to 1.2 kg of manure per day. Produce of rural poultry farming fetches high price compared to those produced from intensive poultry. Eggs and meat from birds reared under free-range conditions have low cholesterol concentration compared to those produced under intensive poultry farming. Generate self-employment opportunity in rural areas and help in checking migration of people to urban areas. Provides egg and meat with almost no or meager investment through backyard poultry farming in free-range system. Require no big infrastructure. Check your